Hello, this is another recording. Trying to, as well as telling my own stories and poems and things like that, trying to revive interest in poems from previous periods and stories from previous periods. I've mentioned this book before. I can't remember which time I recorded from it, but it's the Ingoldsby Legends, which I was given as a present at Christmas gone. And so I'm going to read a poem from it. It's called the Cynotaph, not the Cenotaph, the Cynotaph, from the Greek word for dog. And it's a sort of a funereal poem, which is obviously a little bit sad, by the poet to his dog. The dog's called Trey. It's more comedic than it is tragic. And it's a sort of, I suppose, a bit of a, what should we say, a counterpoint to Rudyard Kipling's funeral poem for his dog, which is a very sad, moving poem. I've recorded it before, so I'm not going to do that one again. But here we go. The Cynotaph. Oh, where shall I bury my poor dog Tray, now his fleeting breath has passed away? 17 years, I can venture to say, have I seen him gambol and frolic and play, evermore happy and frisky and gay, as though every one of his months was May, and the whole of his life one long holiday. Now he's a lifeless lump of clay. Oh, where shall I bury my faithful Tray? I am almost tempted to think it hard that it may not be there in yon sunny churchyard, where the green willows wave o'er the peaceful grave, which holds all that once was honest and brave, kind and courteous, and faithful and true, qualities, Tray, that were found in you. But it may not be yon sacred ground, by holiest feelings fenced around, may ne'er within its hallowed bound receive the dust of a soulless hound. I would not place him in yonder fane, where the midday sun through the storied pane throws on the pavement a crimson stain, where the banners of chivalry heavily swing o'er the pinnacled tomb of the warrior king, with helmet and shield and all that sort of thing. No! Come what may, my gentle Tray shan't be an intruder on bluff Harry Tudor, or panoplied monarchs yet earlier and ruder, whom you see on their backs in stone or in wax. Though the sacristans now are forbidden to axe for what Mr. Hume calls a scandalous tax, while the Chartists insist they've a right to go snacks. No! Tray's humble tomb would look but shabby, miss the sculptured shrines of that gorgeous abbey. Besides, in that place, they say there's not space to bury what wet nurses call a babby. Even rare Ben Jonson, that famous wight, I am told is interred there bolt upright, in just such a posture beneath his bust as Tray used to sit in to beg for a crust. The epitaph, too, would scarcely do, for what could it say but, "Here lies Tray, a very good kind of a dog in his day"? And satirical folks might be apt to imagine it meant as a quiz on the House of Plantagenet. No, no, the Abbey may do very well for a feudal knob, or poetic swell, crusaders or poets or knights of St. John or knights of St. John's Wood, who once went on to the castle of good Lord Eglinton, Count Fiddlefunkin and Lord Fiddlefaddle, Sir Craven, Sir Gale, and Sir Campbell of Saddle, who, as poor Hook said when he heard of the feat, was somehow knocked out of his family's seat. The esquires of the body to my Lord Tom Noddy, Sir Fairley, Sir Lamb, and the Knight of the Ram, the Knight of the Rose, and the Knight of the Dragon, who save at the flagon, and prog in the waggon, the newspapers tell us did little to brag on. And more though the Muse knows but little concerning 'em, Sir Hopkins, Sir Popkins, Sir Gage, and Sir Jerningham, all preux chevaliers in friendly rivalry, who should best bring back the glory of chivalry. Pray be so good, for the sake of my song, to pronounce here the ante-penultum long. Or some hypercritic will certainly cry, the word chivalry is but a rhyme to the eye, and I own it is clear a fastidious ear will be, more or less, always annoyed with you when you insert any rhyme that's not perfectly genuine. As to pleasing the eye, 'tisn't worth while to try. Since Moore and Tom Campbell admit themselves spinach is perfectly antiphonetic to Greenwich. But stay, I say, let me pause while I may. This digression is leading me sadly astray from my object, a grave for my poor dog Tray. I would not place him beneath thy walls and proud o'ershadowing dome St. Paul's, though I've always considered Sir Christopher Wren as an architect one of the greatest of men. And, talking of epitaphs, much I admire his Circumspice si monumentum requiris, which an erudite verger translated to me, if you ask for his monument circumspice, no, I should not know where to place him there. I would not have him by Surly Johnsonby, or that queer-looking horse that is rolling on Ponsonby, or those ugly minxes, the sister sphinxes, mixed creatures, half lady, half lioness, ergo, Denon says the emblems of Leo and Virgo. On one of the backs of which singular jumble Sir Ralph Abercrombie is going to tumble, with a thump which alone were enough to dispatch him if the Scotchman in front shouldn't happen to catch him. No, I'd not have him there, nor nearer the door where the man and the angel have got Sir John Moore, and are quietly letting him down through the floor by Gillespie, the one who escaped at Vellore alone from the row. Neither he nor Lord Howe would like to be plagued with a little bow-wow. No, Tray, we must yield, and go further afield. To lay you by Nelson were downright effrontery. We'll be off from the city, and look at the country. It shall not be there in that sepulchred square where folks are interred for the sake of the air, though pay by the Jews they could hardly refuse to tray what they grant to thugs and Hindus, Turks, infidels, heretics, jumpers and Jews, where the tombstones are placed in the very best taste, and the feet and the head of the elegant dead, and no one received who's not buried in lead. For there lie the bones of Deputy Jones, whom the widow's tears and the orphan's groans affected as much as they do the stones. His executors laid on the deputy's bones little rest, poor knave, would Tray have in his grave, since spirits, 'tis plain, are sent back again, to roam round their bodies, the bad ones in pain, dragging after them sometimes a heavy jack chain. Whenever they met, alarmed by its groans, his ghost all night long would be barking at Jones. Nor shall he be laid by that cross old maid, Miss Penelope Bird, of whom it is said all the dogs in the parish were ever afraid. He must not be placed by one so strait-laced, in her temper, her taste, her morals and waist. For 'tis said when she went up to heaven, and St. Peter, who happened to meet her, came forward to greet her, she pursed up with scorn every vinegar feature, and bade him get out for a horrid male creature. So the saint, after looking as if he could eat her, not knowing perhaps very well how to treat her, and not being willing or able to beat her, sent her back to her grave till her temper grew sweeter, with an epithet which I decline to repeat here. No, if Tray were interred by Penelope Bird, no dog would e'er be so whelped or be cured. All the night long her cantankerous sprite would be running around in the pale moonlight, chasing him round and attempting to lick the ghost of poor Tray with the ghost of a stick. Stay, let me see. Ay, here it shall be, at the root of this gnarled and time-worn tree, where Tray and I would often lie and watch the bright clouds as they floated by, in the broad expanse of the clear blue sky, when the sun was bidding and the world goodbye, and the plaintive nightingale, warbling nigh, poured forth her mournful melody, while the tender wood-pigeon's cooing cry has made me say to myself with a sigh, how nice you would eat with a steak in a pie. Hey, here it shall be, far, far from the view of the noisy world and its maddening crew, simple and few, tender and true. The lines over his grave, they have some of them, too, the advantage of being remarkably new. Epitaph. Affliction sore, long time he bore. Physicians were in vain. Grown blind, alas, hid some prussic acid, and that put him out of his pain. Don't recommend that one for dogs.